Hello students, I am here to help you create a summary response outline. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mass incarceration reading from the 1619 project, and I'm going to use that to create an outline for a summary response. But before I get started, I do want to say a trigger warning. The mass incarceration actual reading, it is violent. It has some very brutal descriptions in it. So if that's something that you really can't handle, then you might want to do something else for your paper, okay? But I wanted to show you that this is my notes that I was doing and making even before this. So however long this video takes me right now, just know that I had already spent time planning. I often have students tell me, oh, it's so easy for you to write a paper. No, it takes me a long time too, a time of planning and figuring it out, thinking about it. So just know that writing a paper does take a long time for everybody. I just want to show you here, this was my notes as well. So here's my notes. If you guys went over and read it with me, you'll know. But I had all of this before I even wrote my paper, okay? Before I'm even writing this right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back. Here is the assignment where you're going to write a summary response and have a template outline for you already. Okay, so open up my copy. So if you look here, I have a list summary represented. And I know that the book says that a list summary is boring, right? They're not particularly good. For this purpose, right, just for the outline, I want you to do a list summary just so you can get an idea of how to piece this together, because like my topic doesn't work very well for a really strict list summary, but I'm going to use it so you kind of get an idea. And then when you write your summary and you revise the paper, that's when you're going to make it really stand out really good and not going to make it as boring as a regular list summary. Okay, so here I am on my example. I'm not going to actually add a hook at this particular moment. You guys can do that at another time. I'm going to go ahead and write the name of the author and the text. So I'm going to put the text in quotation marks, mass incarceration, by, oh shoot, it's Brian Stevenson, from the 1619 project, and 1619 project goes in italics because it's a larger work, 1619 project, okay? And I had already sort of written a brief summary, but if you were with me on reading the actual mass incarceration text, you'll know that the main point or main idea is that mass incarceration is a legacy of slavery. Okay, so I'm going to say, you know, in his text, Stevenson, oh, I forgot the T on this one, I noticed, Stevenson purports, no, I don't like that. I don't want to say says, I'd really like something that's a strong verb. Let's go ahead and go with argues. Argues that, I'm going to put this in quotation because this is exactly how he says it. And I should let you know that in summaries, you don't usually want to put a lot of quotations. In fact, most people say none. But for this particular case, I'm going to write it because I think it's important to his argument. He says that mass incarceration and he says excessive punishment of Black people is a, quote, legacy of slavery. All right, and so that is his main idea. And if I wanted to talk a little bit more about it, I have more ideas. And so one of the first main points that he makes here, and I'm going to go ahead and write it in red so that when I bring it down, you guys will see that it's still in red and that this is the first main point. One of his first main points is that he connects direct or makes some direct historical links Stevenson makes direct historical links, links to slavery, or actually probably from slavery. So he makes, so I kind of rewrote here. Stevenson directly links his, links historical, I'm going to say, decrees and, he says Stevenson also thesis sentence. So a bridge would be something like, let's see, I'm going to say something like Stephen's ideas are stark and difficult to read. And I'm going to put but true. And I'm going to put true because my opinion is that it's true. And then I'll put my thesis. I agree with Stevenson's thesis, or Stevenson's claim that mass incarceration is the legacy of slavery. Okay, so now I have my thesis sentence, I have my bridge to my thesis, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that first point that I have up here, right? My first main point was that Stevenson lays out a clear path through history. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to copy this, and you're going to summarize, and I'll also do your opinion, right? So here I go. I'll actually write that. So one of the things you want to make sure that you do is that when you write your topic sentence should really mirror what you put in your summary, and your topic sentence should not be a quote. The next thing can be a quote, right? And then you can put the detail. But it should not really be a quote. That's your topic sentence, okay? Then you can go back to the text. So then here we talk about how he lays out the clear path. I would actually put several of the points from the text where the 16, hold on, let me go back because I'm not going to remember the dates here. Okay, he mentions, so I'm going to go ahead and put mentions trees that first talk about severe punishment for slaves, you know, and then, and I'm going to put it down. And you can see this doesn't exactly follow this step by step, but it kind of gives an idea of where I plan to go with this. And then I would also talk about that, you know, black codes, just mention them. I don't need to go into like a whole lot of it, but the black codes, Jim Crow laws, and then, you know, today, things like 3 strikes. Those are all things that he mentioned. And then I'm going to go ahead and give my opinion, right? My opinion is that yes, you know, we have seen this multiple times. But my response would be is that, you know, I agree that history clearly shows a path from these laws to slavery. Whoops. Sorry about that. Where? Here we go. And then you want to make sure that you have some kind of example or some other kinds of stories from in your opinion. And I would say something like, you know, he doesn't need to use a lot of facts, right? Facts and statistics, but just a few clear, brutal stories, or I'm going to say examples that help the reader, I'm going to say connect the historical dots. And then I also want to say, is there some other thing in my life where I have seen this? I probably would say something like that, you know, I have met many students who have been victims of the 3 strikes laws and drug wars. You know, these students received punishments much harsher than other, you know, white students that I have known, let's say. And that is actually true. I have actually seen that. And I'm actually going to take this extra supporting detail out right here because I don't necessarily need that. And so I don't necessarily need that either. Just know that I'm not going to grade you down like that. I just want to have like a general idea. I wanted to give you some thoughts of how you might want to go with this. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and go with my second main point, right? His second main point is that he attributes these laws and violence to a racial caste system used to control Black people. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this here, paste in there. And I'm going to go ahead and put my opinion about that idea. You could even add like some quotes, some supporting details from the article. Like this would be the place that you could add a quote to go ahead and help prove that. And so my idea or my response here would be something like, you know, I agree that this violence solidifies a racial caste system used to control Black and brown people in the United States. And then I would give an example from that I have seen, right? You know, think about, let's see. So my example would be something, I might say that, you know, this is a form of terrorism, right? Terrorism. That still exists today. You know, and that I had a neighbor who was African American, who was pulled over, you know, 12 times in 1 year, right? Making him an example, you know, making him an example to anyone who, you know, would dare rise above his station, right? Or try to reach something higher, right? I also would maybe put another personal experience where when me and my partner were stopped by the police, right? Stopped by police, you know, with my partner. And, you know, I, as a white cis woman, was asked if I was okay, right? Again, you know, making an example of what happens, right, when you break the social system. Okay, so that's one. And again, I don't probably need any more than that. That would be long enough. If you feel like you want to put the two different details, also you may want to include some quotes. That would be really a good idea. Okay, so one of my third main points here is that Stevenson, is that Black people are automatically viewed as criminal. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll put that down right here, paste that in there. And you could, I would again, like, write something that I agree, right? Because that's my opinion is that, you know, I agree with Stevenson. And my supporting example would be that, you know, I have seen this in my own classroom, that I've had, police officer assume that I was reporting an African-American student. And then, you can add other things, as well as like any other thing. So as well as like, which allows for any level of brutality. And then I would also, actually, before I put that, I probably, I don't really like that. I would go that, that maybe we have seen this in the form of something like Rodney King. Some of you guys are not old enough to remember Rodney King, but I do. I remember watching that clearly, the video on television, right? That it was okay to beat him so badly, right? That he was hospitalized. Because he was, big, strong, and dangerous, right? So it's that whole idea that they're somehow dangerous, right? And you know what? I think I need to find some other things here. Let me see what else I had on here. Oh, another good example, like from the news, would be something like Trayvon. I think that's how you spell it. We need to make sure to go back. That Trayvon Martin, and you can look it up if it's not something you're familiar with. Was killed because he looked dangerous in a hoodie. That like somehow a 16-year-old boy was innately dangerous. There are so many other examples. And then the idea that like George Zimmerman can get off, I would put all of those things in there. That this is very clear to me, that I have seen this and I agree with that. And then I would put, let me go ahead and put my next one. Okay, and so now I added my topic sentence number 4, right? That we ignore this violence because we view Black people as innately criminal. And then I probably would go back and actually add in a quote from the text. I think there's some like really excellent quotes. Where was that? Sentencing. Where is that? Okay, so I found the quote right here. I would actually put that quote in there. I copied it. We are too practiced in ignoring the victimization of any Black people tagged as criminal. So I would actually stick that in there. Let me go ahead. And I would put that quote because I think that that's a really good quote. And then I would always make sure to put that in quotation marks so that I remember that that is a quote. Let me get that. Like this criminal, and then I would obviously comment, that I agree that this happens, and again, I would put like my personal experience, as a white woman, I have the choice to ignore this, right? Not everyone has the choice. And that's why it is so important for us to stand up and cry out to others the injustice in this situation, right? I would put maybe something like that from my personal experience. I would also say like maybe how I have seen this and how I have like ignored this, right? That I would probably use something like how many times, there's been police brutality or police violence, and, we ignore it because, we think, what did that person do wrong, right? They must have done something wrong, and I would need to explain that and talk about how that I also was socialized this way to think that that was acceptable. But he shows you clearly, right, Stevenson, that the facts are not, that is not the case, right? It is not true. These people are not deserving. Black people are not criminals, right? That it has been imposed upon them as the legacy of slavery. And then I would maybe talk about something like that in my conclusion. Okay? So this is sort of a basic outline. You are welcome to use my outline. It is not perfect, but it would be kind of a good start that you could do. I know that this is a particularly difficult topic, and you're welcome to do any other topic, but hopefully you kind of got an idea of how to put together a summary response, okay? And with that, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you online.